You obviously have experience with Tom Coughlin. You've played under Tom Coughlin. Have you seen anything like this in the past from Coughlin?
I obviously have seen fines and fines being levied down for, missing a meeting or being late for a mandatory treatment or things of that nature. Never anything that was outside of the mandatory obligations. That, being fined $700,000 feels a bit egregious for something that's not mandatory. And that's the part that kind of, that shakes me a little bit. Look, I understand that Coach Coughlin likes his ship run a certain way. He likes a certain level of discipline. He likes players to abide by a certain level of discipline. But I think this one kind of went off the rails a little bit, and it was too much for him to kind of reel back in. When
it goes off the rails like this, what's the effect on a locker room?
It has a huge effect on the locker room. Obviously, guys are walking on eggshells, not knowing what they're going to get fined for, going to meetings early, doing things that they're, just a lot of indecision in terms of where to go and how to be, because guys are getting fined for things that, I heard Leonard Fournette got fined for sitting down on the bench in a game that he wasn't even dressed for. So it gets to a point where you're like, okay, coach, where are we going with this? Because it's starting to, there's a difference between setting rules and being disciplined behind those rules, and then just doing things off the cuff and sending fines because of how you feel at the moment.
As a former player, how common are fines for mandatory things?
They're not common at all. I mean, when things are mandatory and you miss those mandatory things, then you will get a fine. But if those things aren't mandatory, if you're not obligated to be there, either contractually or something that your coach and teammates have obligated for you to be at, you're not supposed to get fined for those things. That's just not the way it's supposed to go.
So what we're seeing here are fines from executive vice president of football operations. When that trickles down, what role should a coach or GM be playing in this situation?
It's tough because the coach obviously understands. He's probably closer to the team and understands and hears the things that they're saying in terms of how these fines are going. But he still has to abide by the rules by the front office and the people upstairs. So that puts the coach in a tricky spot because he's understanding where the players are coming from and getting money, taken from them on a weekly basis when things aren't going their way. But he also listens to the front office, and I'm sure he wants to keep his job and make sure he's showing face and saving face with the front office. So it's a tough position to be put in as a head coach or a GM, but it's something that you have to have a conversation with both sides. Have a conversation with Coach Coughlin and see if there's a way to kind of meet in the middle with all of this, and then have a meeting with your players and kind of bring everybody together.
You were obviously a member of the NFL Players Association at one point. What was your reaction when you saw them come out so publicly and say you should consider this before signing with the Jags?
I've never seen anything like that before. And for that to be their stance in the NFLPA, to come out that outrightly and say something like that, it just shows you the severity of where the situation has gotten. And it kind of forced the hand of Jacksonville to make this change because of the light and the level of attention that it was getting from the NFLPA throughout the rest of the players across the league.
Is that a good thing? I mean, this is basically the Players Association flexing on behalf of their members. Do you like that?
I do like that. I think it's a moment where the NFLPA had to step in and say, hey, look, this is egregious. This is out of control. Let's step in and make sure that we're taking a handle on this and we're telling our players the right thing to do and to be cautious if they have the opportunity to play for the Jacksonville Jaguars under this regime and what things are going on there. Be very, very careful is what the NFLPA was saying.
We don't know, obviously, what the next step for Jacksonville will be, but with Tom Coughlin out of the building, can Caldwell and Marone, the GM and coach, can they actually establish a new culture when everybody is seen the way it was before?
I think they can. I think they have to establish a culture that understands. I think nowadays in the culture of the NFL, you have to listen to the players. You have to listen to what they're saying, listen to how they're acting, listen to how they're reacting to certain things, because that's going to tell you what type of guy you can bring in to kind of run the show and run the ship. And I think they can do that because they have a good young core of guys in Jacksonville that they can kind of grow and mold into whatever they want to become.
Well, obviously, nobody would know better than you. Not only have you been in locker rooms, you've been in locker rooms with Coughlin. So, Victor, we appreciate your time. Thanks for hanging out with us.
My pleasure.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports, more analysis, download the ESPN app. And for live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+. We'll see you there.